This presentation will give you some information about the second round of the Save Our Granite Stages grant program. This program is funded by the state of New Hampshire through the American Rescue Plan Act. This is the second round of the program. We were initially granted $1 million, and we have almost $881,000 left to give away in this round. The maximum grant in this category is $25,000. And if we receive a great number of eligible applications, the awards may be subject to a pro rata share of the money that's available. So who's eligible? In this round, performing arts venues that seat 1,500 or less are eligible, as well as production entities that produce in such venues. And these can be both nonprofit and for-profit venues and production entities. The other change to the eligibility is that organizations that received initial but not supplemental grants from the Federal Shuttered Venue Operator Grant Program are now eligible. Organizations must be incorporated, physically located in the state, and in good standing with the Secretary of State. And of course, not be majority owned or controlled by a publicly traded corporation. Entities must have a unique entity identifier number. This is a number issued by the federal government. And if you've received a federal grant in the last year or so, you already have a UEI. But we will not be able to release funds to organizations that don't have UEIs. And so you can visit our website. We have a page in our grants section about UEIs and how to get them. Nonprofits must have a board of directors that meets at least quarterly. Organizations must be in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, must be in good standing with us, if that's applicable. Individuals and religious organizations, of course, are not eligible. So here's how we're defining a performing arts venue. And I think the most important word here is primarily. The venue must be primarily engaged in hosting live cultural presentations. And those presentations must be seated, ticketed, and open to the public. A performing arts production entity, again, is a business that's primarily engaged in the production of performing arts in those venues. So I'm going to go through the funding criteria now, and you will see that the funding criteria and the narrative questions are directly related to each other. So, of course, we always look at the quality of arts programming first. And so in your narrative, you're going to explain how your programming is consistent with your mission and demonstrates creativity and vision. You're going to talk about how your programming contributes to artistic development and benefits your community. How your programming is population or age appropriate, if it is, and how you're serving underserved populations. We're also going to look at your administrative capacity, and this is basically your organization's ability to manage the grant and report on it. And so you're going to tell us about your organization, your board if you have one, your staff qualifications, any other grants that you've already received, how you managed them, and your success in doing that. You're also going to talk about the impact of the grant on your organization and on New Hampshire's arts workforce. You'll talk about how the grant will benefit your organization. And so when you make your grant request, you can apply for up to 70% of your organization's COVID-19 related earned revenue losses from March 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. And the way we're going to calculate that is we're going to compare the losses in 2021 to the same period in 2019, pre-pandemic. The reason that the time period starts on March 3rd, 2021, is because that is the date that the state received its American Rescue Plan funds. And so the funds can't be used for any losses that occur prior to that date. And so you can apply for these losses as long as they were not covered by other state or federal COVID-19 funding that was dispersed in 2021. And so that includes the initial federal shuttered venue operator grant if your organization received the initial grant in 2021. Any state of New Hampshire administered CARES Act or ARPA funds, that includes funds from us, the Arts Council, but it also includes any funds that you may have received in 2021 from the state's Main Street Grant Program or Nonprofit Emergency Relief Fund, the NERF funds. Those were both funded with CARES Act money. If you received any of those grants in 2021, also the Live Venue Relief Fund, if you received funds in 2021. Any county or municipality administered CARES Act or American Rescue Plan Act funds that you may have received, again, in 2021. Any PPP, EIDL, Advance, again, 2021. And any other federal CARES Act or American Rescue Plan Act funds that you may have received in 2021. That could include funds directly from the National Endowment for the Arts or from the National Endowment for the Humanities. So we're going to look at revenue losses that directly affect your organization's earned revenue. And so you can claim reduced ticket sales, reduced venue rentals, due to all of the things that have been happening during the pandemic: closures, cancellations, social distancing, so selling fewer tickets because you're trying to keep people safe, audiences' continued reluctance to return to venues. You can claim increased personnel costs due to staffing shortages. You can claim increased facilities costs. So let's say that you upgraded your HVAC system during that period in 2021. You can also claim increased health and safety costs, increased marketing and promotional costs due to rescheduling things, canceling things. This is what the budget form looks like, and this is where you are going to enter the numbers. And on our website, we have two versions of this form that you can download. One is in Microsoft Excel format. The other is a fillable PDF. We really encourage you to use the Microsoft Excel form because it will do the math for you. And so what you will do is you will fill in numbers, and these numbers probably will come right off the profit and loss statements that you'll generate to attach to your application. And so for ticket sales revenue, you will include this one only if your 2021 ticket sales revenue was less than 2019. And you'll put both numbers in for the appropriate years. And then in this blue box, the form will calculate what the difference is, that loss. Your venue rentals, same thing. You will put 2021 if this is applicable, 2019, the form will do that for you. Letter C is the personnel costs, and you're going to want to tell us what those costs were and what they were for. So let's say you had higher personnel costs in 2021 than in 2019, and maybe that was because of your box office. And so you would type in box office, and then you would put those personnel costs into these fields, and the form will calculate the difference. Same thing with facilities costs. You want to tell us what those costs were if they were higher than in 2019, and the difference will be calculated. Health and safety, same thing. Marketing and promotion, same thing. And so what will happen is that your total losses will be calculated down here at the bottom of the form, and then the 70% grant request will also be calculated there. There is a tutorial on the budget form on our website. I strongly encourage you to watch the tutorial. And also at the end of that tutorial, I show you how to properly save this Excel spreadsheet as a PDF once it's all filled out. So please, please watch that tutorial. So of course, there are always restrictions with grant programs. And so you can't use the grant award for any costs prior to March 3rd, 2021, or any deficits or debts that were previously incurred. You can't double dip. That's what this overlapping costs means. You can't re-grant the money. You can't use it for travel. You can't use it to fund new positions. You can't use it for any new or special projects or programs or programming costs. Remember, we're just looking at that period of March 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. Can't use it for costs related to home offices or promotion of any political ideology, religious point of view. Can't use it to lobby. So what do you have to submit? The answers to the narrative questions. The narrative questions are on the last page of the guidelines. The completed budget form. Your organization's financial reports, and these will be P&Ls that you will generate from your accounting system for the periods March 3rd to December 31st, 2021, and the same period in 2019. You're going to include documentation of receipt of any other COVID-19 relief funding that you received in 2021, just in 2021. And so that could be the contract for the funding, it could be the official notification of funding, and you want to include that. If you have a board or advisory committee, you want to include that listing with the terms of service. So we'd like to see those dates of when people started serving and how long their terms are. Documentation of venue size. So if you're a venue, you will include your seating chart. If you are a production entity that maybe is somewhat itinerant and produces in various venues, you would include all of those seating charts. Any documentation of the losses that you're claiming on the budget form. So this could be a combination of things like comparison reports of ticket sales for the period in 2021 and the period in 2019. It could be bills that you paid. It could be invoices, contracts with artists. You just want to make sure that you are redacting any personal information, account numbers, social security numbers, etc. You want to include documentation of any COVID-19 policies that maybe contributed to the reduced revenue. And these could be things that were like a screenshot from your website. It could be policies that were included with tickets. You want to include results of any audience surveys you may have done. Examples of the marketing and promotional materials that were created during that period in 2021. Documentation of your most recent season. Very important. You want to see what you're doing now. And then, of course, your most recent tax return or annual audit. So the narrative questions, again, are related directly to the funding criteria. So in the quality of arts programming, again, we just want to understand your organization. And remember, the panel that will review these applications may not be familiar with your organization. So this is your opportunity to tell them about your organization, your mission, your goals, what makes you unique, how you serve your community. And again, with administrative capacity, you want the panel to understand that your organization is fully equipped to properly manage the grant. With impact, again, we want to understand how the grant will impact your organization and positively impact the community that you serve. So the timeline. January 27th, 2023 is the application deadline. Applications are due that day no later than 11:59 p.m. In February, the panel will be convened to review the applications. And then on March 13th, the Arts Council will act on the panel recommendations, and applicants will be notified after that meeting at some point that week. Hopefully, the week of March 27th, grant paperwork will be emailed to grantees. And then when the grant paperwork is returned and complete, payment will be made for grants that are under $10,000, but grants that are over $10,000 will go to Governor and Council for approval. So that's something really important to remember. The sooner you get your grant paperwork back, the sooner you will receive your grant. So if you have questions, please feel free to email me, and we look forward to hearing from you and seeing your applications. Thanks so much.